Welcome back to the Eurosport coverage of the FIS World Nordic Ski Championship from Seefeld in Austria on an amazing day for the athletes, the spectators, maybe not so much for the waxers who are battling against the warm weather. Anyway, this is Seefeld. Well, here you see beautiful pictures and 9 degrees here in Seefeld. No wind to talk about, and we are only minutes away from the first event for the gentlemen or the men in this World Cup or World Ski Championship. It's a qualification. Well, the 10 best of 58 runners are going to qualify for the distant races in this championship. But tomorrow the big thing starts, and it's one thing which is the really big duel. It's a Russian-Norwegian duel with Ustyugov, Bolshunov and Klæbo. That's the main thing of the championship.
Absolutely. From the men's side of things, Teresa will be the queen of Seefeld, barring something unfortunate happening. In the men, you have Klæbo winning the Tour de Ski in his first attempt. Ustyugov, he came out of Lahti 2 years ago with a very sore neck. 5 medals, 2 gold, 3 silver. And then you have Bolshunov, who last week won a 15K Classic by 44 seconds. So these are the 3 big names of this championship, and it's going to be a battle royale starting tomorrow, right from the sprint.
Yeah, but every time the Russians have tried against Klæbo, they lost.
That's true. I mean, Klæbo is the best sprinter in the world, no question. And he showed his all-around prowess last year, winning the overall World Cup, and then this year at the Tour de Ski. The fact that a young kid like Klæbo can come in, first time in the Tour de Ski, and go, thanks, boys, I'll take this giant trophy and all these wins, and leave Val di Fiemme as the Tour de Ski champion. He's a phenom. Yeah. But Ustyugov, he's frustrated. Last year, he wasn't able to compete in the Olympics, so he's got some motivation. Bolshunov, this year, he's only 76 points behind Klæbo in the overall World Cup competition. So it's going to be, it's going to be spicy. I'm looking forward to it.
It will. That's the Norwegian-Russian duel, but it's also a duel between the Finnish and one Russian.
Yeah, and that's right. That is Ivo Niskanen and Alexander Bolshunov once again. These are the 2 best classic skiers in the world. Yes, Emil Iversen is also a great classic skier, but last week we saw in Konya, 44 seconds was Bolshunov ahead of Ivo Niskanen. Ivo Niskanen comes to championships to play. With the classic boards, he's pretty much impossible to beat. You saw in the 50K last year, Ivo Niskanen gold medal, who is silver, Bolshunov. You saw in 2017, Ivo Niskanen at home. I'll take the gold medal, thanks. So those are the big guys to watch in the 15K Classic later on in this championship.
All right, and is this a 34-year-old Norwegian called Martin Jonsrud Sundby? Can he go down in history as the best cross-country skier ever to never win an individual gold in the Olympics or in the World Cup?
You know what? It breaks my heart to say this because, Martin, sorry, buddy, I think this is going to be tough for you. I think the competition at this World Championship is incredibly high. I wish you the best of luck. But like Bjorn Dæhlie back in the days, left his career without a win at the fabled Holmenkollen 50K in Oslo, Norway. Martin Jonsrud Sundby has a tall, tall order to come away from these championships with an individual gold. I wish him the best of luck, but these guys are good, Karsten, real good.
Is it a skiathlon he has the best chances? Is it the 50K or 15K?
This is a tough one. I mean, what is the best chances? To be honest, I would say the 50K and the 30K are his best chances. The problem is he's got to shake the likes of Ustyugov. He's got to shake the likes of Alex Harvey. He's got to shake the guys with the big sprint. And that's where Sundby has struggled. And this course, when I look out there, the run-in it favors somebody with a real punch to the line, and I hope he's strong because he's got to shake a lot of good guys to come to the line alone.
All right, a few minutes away from the qualification for the championship. Let's go to the Berg Isel ski jumping hill. There's training there today. There's also our team. Let's take it away with Jonas and Alexander.
Here in Innsbruck City Centre, we are very much looking forward to the competitions. And Berg Isel, the famous hill, will be holding the championships for the first time since 1985. the Norwegian Per Bergerud won Alexander Poitner, and I guess he was still just a young kid back in 1985.
Yes, I was a small ski jumper and I had bright eyes to watch them.
Most people, I guess, know you from the Red Hats, being the legendary Austrian coach for so many years, now joining us as an expert. What are your expectations when the World Championships are coming to your hometown?
Yeah, it's great. I can look from my living room to Bergisel, and the atmosphere is great here in this stadium, and I'm really looking forward.
Now we see behind us the Nordic combined skis are having their second official training round, but we are looking forward later on when the men's are going into the hill, and it's hard not to look at Ryo Kobayashi and think what a championship he could have after the season he had with 11 victories in the World Cup.
It's amazing. 1 month ago I was here and I watched him at the Four Hill tournament, and he won each competition, and I think he's the big star and favorite for this competition here.
But after the Four Hill tournament, he was a little bit tired and went back to Japan and needed some time to get back on track.
Yeah, he did a really good job, and then you get tired. He made mistakes, but the last competition in Willingen, he was the winner again, and his self-confidence, I think it's really great.
Luckily enough, this is ski jumping, so everything can happen, and there are some fierce rivals out there. Obviously, one of the big favorites, Kamil Stoch, which I met at the press meeting of the Polish jumpers yesterday. He seemed so relaxed.
Yes, he's so relaxed. He won a lot of medals, also gold medals, and he improved week per week. And he also won competition this year, and I think he is also a top favorite for the competitions.
But for the Austrians, the host country, it's obviously most important. Stefan Kraft, could he be able to defend his championships from Lahti 2 years ago?
I have the feeling he can do this. He was not so good during this season, but he won 3 competitions and he improved as Kamil Stoch. And this is his home hill, and he likes it, and I'm looking forward for that.
So much to look forward from Bergisel, Karsten.
Thank you so much, Jonas and Alexander in Bergisel. You see the beautiful surroundings here in the Seefeld, and as I said earlier, we're only minutes away from the qualification for the distant races. 58 men are going to compete for 10 available spots. This is the 10K Classic. The quality of the racers are, well, it's a great range there, from the best to the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some that come from colder climes and have maybe not been born on skis on their feet like yourself, Karsten, as a Norwegian, but definitely have skied a lot. And then there's some others that, you know, a little newer to the sport in the world of cross-country skiing.
Yeah, because this is back in Lahti in 2017. This is Adrian Solano from Venezuela. Needless to say, he did not qualify. He won social media by a landslide, but yeah. So well,
yeah, he crushed social media, and the New York Times dubbed him the world's worst skier, and I think we can see. I think we can see why. Sadly, he's not coming back for his encore, but there's others that are here that are going to fight for the reign.
Yeah, and also the oldest competitor today is a guy called Luis Carrasco, and he's 55 years old. He did attend the Olympic Games in Lillehammer 25 years ago, and in Salt Lake City in 2002 in, hold your horses, skeleton. So he's trying a new thing here.
They say an old dog can't learn new tricks, but we're going to challenge that today. When I think of Mexico, I think of tacos, sun, surf, salsa. But we're gonna try and change that in for cross-country skis in the Austrian Alps.
All right, he's number 1 out. We'll be back in a few minutes with the start. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Seefeld, waiting for the start of the men's 10-kilometre qualification race, classic style, and it's due off in just a couple of minutes' time. There'll be a vast range of quality amongst the athletes in this event. Some are here for the party, Mike, some are here just to continue their love of cross-country skiing. Some haven't even raced this year, but they come to the World Championships. Others know that they can reach that qualifying standard and get themselves through into the main event.
Well, that's right, Patrick. 58 on the start line, only 10 will get through. And as you mentioned, so many exotic countries with Mexico, well, starting with Mexican, and then, of course, Portuguese, Danes, they're here, but they can ski. Mexicans, Lebanon, a real spread of nationalities, Mongolia as well, Ireland. So countries which we don't normally associate with cross-country skiing. All around the world are here to try and qualify. Only the fastest 10 making it into the rest of the World Championship competitions.
Now, how is that for a name? Mongrel Dashdondog, and he will be starting number 3. The Mongolians looking pretty good in the women's event, and you know, technically no huge problems, but again, I think it would have been easier for them if it had been freestyle. Most of these athletes, all these athletes, have grown up with the skating style, and of course, as you're a youngster, you don't want to be spending time putting wax on your skis. You just want to put the skis on your feet and go.
Ah, the freedom of freestyle, yes. None of this complicated clister, sticky wax that you need on the base, especially when the weather has risen from what? Earlier this morning, well, it was -6 earlier this morning, but all the way up to 9 degrees air temperature now.
Well, that is the setting. So the early starters making their way into the arena. No hiccups in terms of the technical aspects for the race this morning. We had a couple of nasty crashes. One athlete having to be taken off on the skidoo. No word as to their condition, but from what we saw of the crash, it didn't look too bad. I think it was just precaution. So Luis Carrasco Arena of Mexico, 55 years old, the oldest man here, a man who featured in the Olympics back in 1994.
Incredible. What a career he has. And then, well, to go from skeleton to cross-country skiing, I'm not quite sure how that works. The connect there isn't too obvious, but here he is, 55, and finding a new sport. Never too late.
Well, I think you can tell from the first 10 meters that Arena is not going to be a man going through in the top 10, but as you don't have skeleton at the Nordic World Championships, you've got to try something else. But good effort, good to see him here. What if he's within 10 minutes of the best, he's done well today. Andrew Thiel from Colombia, another man who hasn't really been seen on the race scene so far this year. He's just 20 years old, and he'll be hoping to catch the veteran in front of him. What do you think of that suit?
Well, he'll certainly be noticed out on the tracks. You won't miss that suit or this athlete. And it looks good. It's a good start. But with 344 metres of climbing, Patrick, it's a real test today.
Now, here's our favourite, Mongrel Dashdondog. And another man who comes out of Ulaanbaatar.
Well, I have to say, you can tell immediately the dynamic movements through from the start line, the dynamic movement through his ski poles. Dashdondog is going for it.
Zakim Bayev is next for Kazakhstan. He comes from Soldier Hollow, but that's Soldier Hollow, Almaty, rather than Soldier Hollow, Utah, where the biathletes were racing last week. Well, we saw him in the Olympic sprint.
We did, didn't we? And the day, of course, you qualify, only the top 30 get through to the finals. He finished in 78th position.
Yeah, a wee way off the mark set by Johannes Husfeldt Klæbo, who is the talk of the town at the moment. People feeling that he is going to be the one to dominate the sprint event. No one feeling he's going to feature in the distance events, Mike, but any distance event where the leaders stay grouped up, then someone with Klæbo's sprint pace has a chance.
He certainly has, and it's going to be so good to watch this tomorrow. German Madrazo, he got a lot of interest at the Olympic Games when he finished 26 minutes, well, just under 26 minutes behind Dario Cologna, who took the title, and German was last, and he had a lot of his friends there waiting to lift him high, and he grabbed the Mexican flag as he came in.
Well, I saw on his record that he'd won the Loppet race at Ushuaia, the 50-kilometre there. I'm now starting to feel there must have been a misprint somewhere along the line. Number 6, Umprimni from Colombia, another veteran on the tour, 43 years old, generally picks up between 600 and 900 FIS points. He needs to be down at 90 to get automatic qualification, and at that level he is unlikely to feature. Here's a man you know a bit about, Mike.
Well, he's been racing up in Norway on the 8th of December, 15-kilometre, but in the freestyle. Finished 25 minutes and 1 second behind the lead time on that particular day. The lead time was 37 minutes.
Raza Famaha Tratra. His name almost as long as the race. This is Jungbluth from Ecuador, and a fantastic mix of nations involved in the race today. And actually, that's Avile Solis from Mexico, who's we've seen racing a lot in Akureyri, which is in Iceland. He spends a lot of time in Iceland, so he'll be used to the snowy conditions. I remember arriving in Reykjavik and asking to hire a car to drive to Akureyri, which hosts some really good races, actually, and being told I could, but I'd have to wait a month and a half before the road was open. It is that cut off.
It sounds incredible. A 39-year-old Jungbluth starting. Ecuador, well, you couldn't get closer to the that middle line round the earth, and but some high mountains there, some 14,000-foot mountains there, volcanic mountains. Rajak about to get underway. Trinidad and Tobago, you don't associate that with cross-country skiing at all. Just off the northeast coast of Venezuela, so this is new territory, and he will find it quite difficult out there. Some of the descents, Patrick, are so fast. We saw one crash earlier, you mentioned, but if you haven't got great balance on your skis, you will find this track very difficult.
Yeah, I saw the temperature in Madagascar, where number 7 was from. Today, a balmy 98 degrees, so he'll feel a very, very long way from home. This is Stefan Langer from Belgium. Comes from Eisenborn. Didn't qualify in Lahti. Missed out on the top 10 there. He's having another crack here at the age of 42. Raced the Austrian Championships here before. I think that was 2017 they held the Austrian Championships here in Seefeld. So that will give him some idea of what the tracks are like. That might be a good thing. It might not be, because he'll know just how tough they are.
Well, he does, and this is really the only easy part. So from the start gates, you've got this flat section, well, gentle incline, and then out into the forest, the woods, and some incredibly steep rises, followed by fast descents with some tight corners along the way. 13, the 39-year-old, Cabrita ready to go. His last race was 1 year ago, and that was in the Czech Republic, so you could say a little race rusty.
13 underway. Number 3, Dash Don Dog, is the fastest so far, going through the 1.2 kilometre stage. 3:39. That's not a bad effort. This is Carrasco Arena, the oldest man in the field, and he's got a problem not only with the lack of technique, but he's got a problem with the skis, Mike. I just have a feeling he's gone with Clister, obviously, in these conditions, but he stepped onto some of the colder snow in the shade. That's balled up under his feet. And now it's like having one ice skate and one crampon on different feet.
Exactly, and that's a good example of what happens from skiing in the shade, where it's -degrees and icy, to then into the slushy part, the warm part at 9 degrees air temperature in the stadium. You need good technicians to marry those difficult conditions together and get a much better wax to grip on these high climbs.
Well, I think Dash Don Dog looks pretty competent going through 1.7. 5:49, that will be nowhere near the quickest. I suspect that the fastest will go through in around 5:20, maybe even under that. But Dash Don Dog, the early leader here, the first 15 athletes underway in the men's 10-kilometre qualification. Welcome back to Seefeld, the first faller of the day in the men's race. And if you're wondering whether this is actually the World Championships, I can tell you it is. It's really the prologue, isn't it? What we're trying to find is 10 athletes of high enough quality to get involved in the next 12 days of competition. And the good news is the standard gets higher and higher as we work our way through the start list. A total of 58 starters today, and actually number 19, Rokas Vaitkus of Lithuania, looking pretty competent. They've produced some good skiers over the years.
They certainly have, and he raced recently in the Latvian Championships, National Championships, and finished 22nd. That's not bad for a young lad.
Jakob Wheel Rosbo racing for Denmark. A team that I guess you're supporting now, Mike, as they've brought in a secret weapon, one Scott Dixon, to prepare their skis.
Well, an experience, of course. He certainly put in a big day yesterday, and he's a great group of lads, and it's incredible. With lack of funding, these smaller teams, just one set of skis each, and they're precious. They're very precious, and when you compare that to, what, 70 pairs of skis if you're one of the top athletes in the world, there is no comparison.
Yeah, the Norwegian waxing truck is just outside our commentary box. It comes in looking like a fairly normal truck, and then out come the sides to triple the size. Then up goes the upper layer, so it has a second lounge above the waxing room. And then, just for good measure, they throw another extension out the back. It is absolutely massive. You won't get much change from £1 million for one of those trucks. And Mike, each athlete has, what, 3-4 times more skis than the whole of the Danish team put together.
It's incredible. There is no comparison. You need a big team surrounding you to assist and help and make the skis perfect. It takes more than just one person. It's a lot of hard work, as we'll see over the next 2 weeks. The energy and the effort from a whole team performance to make their athletes the best.
And they feel it's worth it, and so do many other teams, simply because if your skis are going 1% faster than someone else's, that can make 5, 6, 7 places difference. If that's the difference between first and seventh, the gold medal means everything. Seventh means pretty much nothing.
It's incredible, isn't it? And those margins are real. And of course, all the coaches, all countries, all sport looks at the margins. Where can you become better? And that's why we're looking at millions of pounds worth of waxing cabins on wheels. And it's good to see the comparisons here as well. On day one, the test race, if you like, only top 10 going through at the variations in standards. The Mexican, in fact, no, sorry, I thought that was Carrasco. He started number 1. He's 55-year-old. In fact, there he was, heading back down the hill. This is the test to make sure that your ski poles in classic are no more than 83% of your total height. And I think number 58, who is a very good skier, Corlitz, possibly needs to go and get another pair.
No, he's okay.
He's okay.
He's okay.
Oh.
He's going to be the last man away. And the idea is that if you allow long poles in the classic, then athletes will just double pole the whole way. We got slightly caught out in the last lot of races in Konya because they had a section where you didn't have to have wax on the ski, but you had to do the diagonal stride. You weren't allowed to double pole that particular section. And of course, we saw Alex Harvey going through there. We saw Dario Colonia going through there, and they had opted to double pole. And actually, Mike, that lost them a respect. I'm not going to say they were going to win because Bolshunov was far too good, but they might have finished in the top 3 or 4. And that particular ruling ruled them out of contention for a good position.
It did, and those sections, and you know what, in 1985, when the World Championships came here, that was really when the tracks were opened up to entirely free skating. They had 2 sets of classic tracks in, so it was not easy to freestyle, to skate, but that was the beginning all those years ago for skating at World Championships.
And what's your thinking behind FIS's desire to maintain classic as it is? Some would say aesthetically it looks better. You know, the double poling on its own can be pretty dull. You know, the two-phase, the diagonal stride, as we're seeing here, the herringboning, it's all part of the sport. Others would say it is simply to keep the waxing companies in business.
Well, that's an interesting one. I think the raw, when you look at this technique, it's like the running technique. I feel it's the historic beginning of cross-country skiing, because that's the way we walk, that's the way we used to slide skis. I think it should remain, and I understand why it's a desire to keep it in. Looks good.
But
Feels good.
I can see that, and you know, coming from your generation, I understand your sentiment there.
Raw.
But one of the things I've really enjoyed over the last 5-6 years is this sort of toss-up between, is it better with wax, is it better without? And everyone has to make the decision, and each course is different. If the course is too hard, double poling is not quicker, therefore you don't bother doing it. You've just got to design a course that makes it debatable. You know, you'll get 2 or 3 going without wax. It makes it interesting.
It does, but the sport could then just take that one angle where you've got these superhuman upper bodies of entirely double poling. You could train the body to cope with the steepest climb, so you'll lose the aesthetics of classic skiing.
Design a course that makes that difficult. Don't tell them what equipment they have to use and don't have to use. Anyway, that's an argument that we'll run and run. The courses here are pretty stiff. I can't see anyone trying to double pole the 15K, which is the classic race this year.
You can see the base of the ski. Now, that's what happens when you go from warm snow into ice. It just clogs up, balls up under your foot, and here he is further down the hill, Dash Dondog.
Yeah, that's a bit disappointing, because Dash Dondog set the early split at 1.2. His time has now been bettered, but only by 5 seconds. Sonimbaya is the current leader from Mongolia, going through the 1.2 marker. We'll obviously get a split time at 5 kilometers, which is where Dash Dondog is about to go.
Happy to say that Will Rosbo from Denmark is putting in a very good early pace as well. He's 4th position at the moment.
I still can't believe his Christian name is Mongol.
Dash Dondog, it's an incredible name, but I tell you what, he's fast. He's setting, I know in terms of ranking, we expected, of course, the faster skiers at the back. And we did get a few surprises in the women's race. And I think we're being surprised here by Dash Dondog.
I think he's done well. That fall will have cost him, what, 15, 20 seconds, maybe a little bit more.
And his skis are going to lock up again, Patrick. We're in the heat here at 9 degrees, plus 9 degrees. And absolutely would expect those skis to ice up again. And it may well bring him down again a second time.
Yeah, we were having a chat to a few of the British team members yesterday, and they were quick to point out that the 15-kilometre, which is in classic style, therefore you need your grip wax, is particularly difficult because one loop is in the sun and one is in the shade. Which do you wax for, or do you use a multi-purpose ski? Are we finally going to see the no-wax ski making an outing at a major championships?
I think we may well, because marrying this warm snow, wet snow with in the forest, it's a very difficult blend to get it right.
The first 38 starters are now underway in the 10-kilometre classic style. Samar Tork of Lebanon just about to exit the stadium for the first time, and I think from the pictures that he will have seen on the big screen, he knows he's in for a rough ride here in Seefeld, and the wax is causing more of a problem than anything else. Mike, I know all the teams have put Clister on, 1 or 2 trying to get a layer of stick wax over the top of that. The standard of racer here, I feel that many of them would have been better on a waxless ski.
I agree. When you got your waxless ski, you know that it's not going to ball up. You spray a little silicone over what looks like seal skin, and that keeps it, that prevents it icing up. You've got a much better glide and flow. But many, as you said, of the athletes struggling with this combination of sunshine and icing underneath the ski base.
27 going through, that's Grönlund from Bolivia. He was competing in Chile's national championships this year. And this should be, this is 28, 29. It's either Lagla or
29, yeah.
Januskavicius from Lithuania. Anything under 45 minutes is respectable. It's, again, you know, this sort of ridicules some of these athletes, Mike, but it is so difficult when you have snow under the ski. It stops dead in its tracks when that ice bites, and even the best skiers would struggle with these sort of conditions.
I hope we'll probably see the base of the skis, actually, Patrick, to see what is happening under the ski.
Well, I suspect that the left ski has a lot. Now, what he's got to do is kick the ski into the snow or run one ski over the top of the other to get rid of the ice from underneath.
Exactly, cross the skis over, get rid of that icing.
That might be a balancing act too far, I feel.
This looks like Dashdondog coming through to pass bib number 1, the starter today. He's bib number 9.
Well, down
4.5 minutes gain.
Still with the fastest time, 15:45. That Mike, 15:45, just 3 seconds inside the winning time of Meng in the women's 5 kilometre. So Dashdondog needs to pick the pace up a little.
He could have asked the athlete ahead of him, of course, Carrasco, to move, but he decided to go round. And you know what? Maybe that was the best option.
I think you're absolutely right. You ask number 1 to move, and you might have a 6-foot body to go round as opposed to just a little bit of clean track to negotiate.
So the stadium area, and it's flat, it's easy, much easier in this part of the track as Stefan Langer comes through.
Now, when you see conditions like this, Mike, does it not make you wonder why the Austrians haven't been at the top level since '97? I know some of the results in 1997 when they held the World Championships in Ramsau were slightly suspicious, but they have such amazing facilities. Why do they not have a mass of athletes like the Norwegians and the Swedes?
It really surprises me. I know they've got their biathlon schools for youngsters developing from the age of 11-year-old. They have the same in cross-country skiers. I am really surprised as to why Austria isn't producing at the very top in cross-country skiing again. It's been many years, and I suppose in the 80s they were able to achieve top 5s and better occasionally, but seems to have lost their way. And maybe it was as a sidekick from what happened in 1999 and the years past that.
Will Rosbo of Denmark, the leading athlete in this pair, with a pair of Dixon Junior skis on his feet, is going okay, Mike. I think Scott's done a pretty good job.
Well, I think a great waxing team there, but seriously, and Will Rosbo looks a very good athlete, and it's such a pity for me that so many teams have such a disadvantage by only having one pair of skis, by having very limited funding. We're looking at a real athlete who's really achieving something here, and I hope he qualifies. I think he will, the 21-year-old. Certainly a good lean forward, and when you're from Copenhagen, you don't have that many opportunities to actually get on snow. It's such a flat country, Denmark.
Well, at least they've got a bridge over to Sweden now, so they can go for the weekend. That's quite a positive start from the Argentinian Franco Dalfara. And another of the youngsters, just 18, for Iceland, Albert Jonsson. And we're getting towards the back end of the start sheet now. 58 in all entered for today's race. So what's it going to be? Another 4.5 minutes or so before everyone is out on the tracks, and I'm not sure if anyone is going to have finished by that time. No, they certainly won't have done, because it's only going to take 29 minutes in total to get everyone underway. Dashdondog will be going through around the 8-kilometre mark, I suspect, when the last starter gets onto the tracks. Will Rosbo of Denmark, the pace setter in the 5-kilometer split at the moment, as you can see, and 15:08.
Just looking further back down the track, Patrick, Will Rochebo was in 9th position, but only 30, so this is looking back down the track when later starters have already got under their way. So, in fact, dropped to 11th now, 38 seconds behind Batmonk at 1.7.
Well, that's with Will Rosbo. I can see that some of you would be thinking, hang on a minute, the same name, same country, but he's out on the tracks. Joachim was the first one, and Jakob, his brother, starting just a minute and a half behind. So Jakob will be getting every split he needs on Joachim.
And, of course, Jakob, the younger brother, only 19-year-old, his brother 21-year-old. And the younger brother slightly faster. Now, I wonder what the highest hill in Belgium is. It's not high. I think it's just over 100 meters. So, but plenty of opportunity when you're in Belgium to find snow in the northern part of Germany and, of course, France as well. Easy access.
Well, easy access, but if you're going to take it seriously, you need to relocate. I think it's fair to say, Mike.
Yes, exactly what Andrew Young and, of course, Andrew Musgrave have done, and up to Trondheim for Andrew Musgrave and Lillehammer for Andrew Young. And it's worked. They've done so well over the years from a background of limited skiing in Scotland, but actual skiing maybe 25 days a year, but mostly on roller skis in the summer months.
So Titouan Serot splitting the two Danes at the top of the list, going through 5 kilometers. Belgium, we saw some athletes of theirs, Luca Del Fabro and Harvard Moseby. Junior World Championships, Mike, you know, top 30 in the Junior Worlds is an indication that you might do something later on in life?
I think so. You can, if you manage by that time, if your development pathway has managed to get you top 30 as a junior, you certainly have real opportunity as a senior.
Yeah, we just saw Strolia starting for Lithuania. He featured in Lahti 2 years ago, looked very good. I wonder whether he's learnt his lesson, because he was one of the quickest over 5K, and then it was a downward slide after that. And with a double course here as well, so 2 laps of 5 kilometers, you have to save something for the second climb up this hill, which is long and it's steep enough to really make you pay a heavy price should you go too hard too soon.
Yes, World Championships tracks, they should never be taken lightly. As you say, first time around this 5 kilometre as Konya comes through looking fantastic from Hungary.
Yeah, he's done well. He's taken 30 seconds off Malchov of Bulgaria, and he's taken a significant time off Benediktsson of Iceland. So Konya perhaps the man to watch later on, although Albert Jonsson was the fastest through 1.2. Adam Konya so far the fastest split at 1.7. And just looking for Jonsson's start. Maybe Jonsson just starting a little bit too hard.
Well, this is older brother Will Rosbo, Joachim coming through.
Yeah, he's looking very neat on the skis, and nearly all the Danes might head over to Norway to train, and they do it on a work for your rent basis, and then the time off that they get, generally that takes 4 hours work, so they work for 4 hours and the rest of the day is theirs for training.
And if you want to be a good cross-country skier, as we see Will Rochebo showing us that he is very much, I hope there's enough information. I hope Scott Dixon is getting information out to these lads that well, I'm looking at half distance. Will Rochebo won 4th position. That's Jakob, the younger brother. Yeah, Joachim leading at 5 kilometers.
Now, Jonsson, early pace setter at 1.2, and he keeps it going, but he's only got 0.4 of a second to play with. 1.2. He's now been pushed down into third. So as should be the case, the stronger athletes starting last. So I think we're going to see more and more impressive times going through those splits. And by the time they go through 5K, we'll have a really good idea of who the man to beat is. It's still Joachim Wheel-Rosbo who leads for Denmark. His time at the halfway point, 15:08.
Batmunk, we've for many years seen him at the major championships. He came along when he was 16-year-old, and he's only, what, 24-year-old now?
Well, that's an impressive start from the Mongolian. Shanlung of Thailand through 1.7 takes the lead for himself. That's a very, very impressive start from him. I hope he can keep that pace going.
I love this aerial camera. We can get a real feel for what the terrain is here at the World Championships in the forest. 53 slipping a little there, getting his grip again to help him up this climb.
Well, the lead, as you saw, has changed at 5K. Batmunk is now the leader for Mongolia at 1.7. The leader currently is Shanlung of Thailand, who started number 51. So he's having an absolute stormer of a race at the moment. But we have got 58 athletes in the field, so some of the fastest athletes still to go through. De Mare of Belgium can't match Shanlung at this stage. Usually picks up 100 feast points, just needs to raise his game a little, and then he'll get automatic qualification into the championships. Now, started third, but he's going to be the first to cross the finish line. Dashdon Dog of Mongolia with 30 minutes. Can he break that 31-minute marker? Well, I'm not sure he can, because he's still got a fairly brutal climb to come, Mike. It's a steep climb here.
It is, and this is tomorrow. This will be the final, what, 400 meters of the sprint competitions, and it is a steep climb, coming up to a tight right-hander, then quite a fast descent before an easy run out towards the finish line. He knows he needs to pick up the pace as he's coming up to the finish line. I think we're looking more at a 33-minute time for Dashdon Dog. Jumping out of the tracks, don't go the wrong way.
And I tell you what,
oh my word, he nearly went the wrong way, but he's back on track.
Despite the fact that he started, he's just got to hope that the skis run clean down this last hill. He's a very early starter, Mike, but going through 5 kilometers, he's still in the top 10. I know there are some of the big names still to come through, but if he's had a good second loop, then he might just squeeze into the top 10 come the end of the day.
I hope so. That from an early starter, they weren't expecting him, or his historic races have not really been able to put him into the back of the field where the better athletes are. It's a great performance. I hope he doesn't get not disqualified, maybe get a warning for going slightly off track, but you are allowed to be 2 meters away from the bollards.
So Mongrel, Dashdon Dog of Mongolia, with a time just over the 32-minute mark, 32:17. It will be beaten, but he might just hang on to a top 10. That last kilometre needed to be very, very good indeed. Welcome back to Seefeld. We're just about halfway through this men's 10-kilometre. Some of the later starters coming up towards the halfway point. Benediktsson from Iceland, 9.6 inside Dalfara's time. That's very encouraging news for the Icelander. And if he can keep that pace going, he has certainly got himself a slot in whichever race he chooses to do tomorrow, over the next 12 days, probably the 15K, Mike, in the classic style. One or two of them will also run the qualification for the sprint tomorrow.
I think they certainly will. So 10 by rights will go through absolutely for tomorrow, and I think they'll all have a tryout on the sprint course tomorrow. It will be a huge test. It is in the freestyle tomorrow, alternating from the Olympics. Of course, it was classic, so 1 year later at the majors, it's freestyle. This is a great performance from Batmonk.
Yeah, this is more like it. Really good tempo on the climbs. He's got a good flowing technique, lots of grip with the skis as well. So his technicians have done a good job today. And the waxing technicians are the unseen heroes, many of them up here, what, 3 hours before the race started today. They walk around with armfuls of 20 pairs of skis, test the lot. There are guys whose specific job it is to go and test the ski. They come back, report to the waxer, say this is what we need, this was good, this wasn't so good. It's not a quick process.
It's not. If you have a big team, if you have many helpers, workers, and it's such a structured, organised team as we see from Norwegians, from Finns, from all the big countries at World Cups, then it's okay. You have a routine. But if you have one or two support staff, it is a very difficult, time-consuming job.
Absolutely. But as we see another athlete having a few issues, Mike, 3 hours before the race started, the temperature was -5. As the race started, the temperature's +9. The snow crystals have changed. It's an almost impossible task to predict what you're going to have. You're almost better testing the skis the day before the event and then predicting what the temperature will be actually on the race time.
I think you're absolutely right. 28 there, finding the wax awful, no grip at all, so just leaning forward, clawing his way up the hill on through his ski poles. Good lean forward there to get body drop, body weight. There's athletes talking about dropping. There's athletes dropping everywhere. And that's the icing underneath the skis, which become an absolute dead stop.
Well, here comes Will Rojbo. This is Joachim, if my memory serves me right. Jakob the other. And Joachim, the older of the two brothers, first to start, setting the standard.
This is a good time, and I think this will be a qualifying time, certainly setting all the early times to catch. Well under Dash Dondog's time, and I'm not sure now that Dash Dondog is going to make it through to the top 10.
Yeah, that margin is huge. He's going to be almost 2 minutes clear of the Mongolian skier. And Will Rosbo, starting over only 17, I think putting in a much better performance than many thought. And 2 minutes 1 second inside Dash Dondog. And now we have to wait and see what his brother does, because he started number 20, exactly a minute and a half after him. And at the halfway stage, the younger brother was just a little off the pace. So often it's the younger brother that's better, but that tends to sort of come into play once they're out of their teenage years.
I think so. So often that is the case. You've got someone to chase, someone that you live with, someone you know so well. Chan Leung losing. He started fast. He's beginning to drop off the pace a little.
Yeah, he was leading at 1.7. And he had a couple of seconds to play with over Demare and Drahund.
We should be seeing a younger brother, Jakob Will Rosbo, coming in very soon. He started, only a minute and a half behind his older brother, who's at the moment setting the fastest time. Well, I think Scott and Morton will be happy with how they've seen the skis go. They'll be performing, I should say, in the colder sections of the track in the sunshine.
Well, I'm just wondering whether there might have been an issue here, Mike. Sonin Baya into the last 150 meters, and if you were with us for the pre-World Championship World Cup in Seefeld last year, you may well notice that the finishing straight is a little bit steeper and a little bit longer than it was last year, which I think will make for a more interesting situation come the finish of the sprint. There is plenty of time for overtaking in the home straight, and the sprints, of course, taking place tomorrow. So 1:23 behind for Sonin Baya. There's your leader, Joachim Will Rosbo. No sign of his brother at the moment. Should be in very shortly.
Well, I think that Joachim will be sitting in the champion's chair, maybe not until the very end of the race, but certainly for some time. That's a good job. Mission accomplished. 30 minutes and 16 seconds.
Benediktsson of Iceland, just looking for his early intermediate times. He was down in 7th at 1.7. Well, this is Jakob Wiel-Rosbo, his brother, sitting in the finish quite comfortably at the moment, and the two brothers only 20 seconds or so apart at the 5-kilometer stage, but the older brother proving himself to have slightly better endurance. That's a big margin. I wonder whether Jakob has taken a tumble on the second lap. I think that's highly likely.
I think it may well be. He certainly started strong, and I thought he was going to maintain that pace. Number 8 getting past there by 23. Avelis Solis, the 31-year-old, going wide to allow the faster skiers to come through. I think that's good practice. So Serot just coming in. He's going to be over a minute behind, maybe a minute 15 behind. But he'll be so happy to have completed the 10 kilometers here.
Well, Joachim Wiel-Rosbo, Mike, just going back to the 6.2 kilometer stage, he's still in 10th position there, so it's going to be touch and go as to whether he goes through to the final stages. This is Serot coming in 1:23 behind the current leader. That will not be good enough to qualify, despite the fact that he's gone into 3rd for now, and there are still 1 or 2 athletes to go through 6.2, so I think it's going to be he's going to be right on the cusp of qualification.
Well, when you look at him there, there's one certainty: you just cannot give more than that, and what will be will be. He'll know that he couldn't have done anything more to qualify if he doesn't make it.
We've still got a couple of athletes still to go through the halfway marker. Mark Shan Lung is still leading for Thailand. He's got a time of 13:49 and 4 seconds to spare over Thibaut Dumarie of Belgium. And Albert Jonsson of Iceland has done pretty well. Here he comes up to 6.7, lying 3rd at the halfway point. He takes top spot at 6.7 for now, with 10 athletes still to go through that part of the course.
Very much in control, Albert Jonsson, getting good power over the top, trying to keep some energy and then into the tuck. 2 or 3 double poles just to keep the momentum down the next climb. Well, Lagler, the wax hasn't worked well, but that's an incredible lean forward. Sometimes when you lean forward like that, it takes the weight off your skis, and you tend to see that slipping happening. So the final descent. This is going to be so exciting tomorrow, Patrick, with Klæbo, and of course Pellegrino, probably his main challenger, Bolshinov. Yeah, maybe all together on that bend coming up to this final 100 meters.
Well, we were having a chat about it earlier, and certainly the feeling is that if you want to lead into the stadium, you want to be 10 meters clear at the top of the last climb in the sprint, so no one can catch you on the descent. If you're going into the finish together, you want to be in 2nd or 3rd place coming down the hill and use the slingshot. We saw one or two teams practicing it, and the lengthened finishing straight makes it, I think, advantageous to be in 2nd or 3rd coming into the home straight.
I've got that feeling as well. You've got, as you say, you can slingshot past the leader. Lagler doing well there. That should be a qualifying time.
Well, here comes Batmunk, and I think he's going to have a qualifying time as well. Wiel-Rosbo is going down into 2nd. That's a fantastic run from the Mongolian, and he records a time 31.5, under the 30-minute barrier. First man to do that, and actually, you know, a classic race under 3 minutes per kilometre is very respectable for a club skier.
It certainly is, and I just saw a flash of the wax that he had on the base of his skis. So he had klister, but covered quite thickly by stick grip wax, tub wax on top, and that really does prevent the icing that we've seen from so many. So Bart Munck clearly experienced in his trade of waxing, or certainly his helpers. At the moment,
the stronger skiers, Mike, are capable of staying in the tracks for a much higher percentage of the race on the uphill sections. And I think that's why they're not really having the issues. If you stay in the track all the way around, you're very unlikely to get icing under the ski.
That's right. As soon as you step out like that onto the granules, the sort of sugary granules, just absolutely locks up the glide factor. 53, great job double poling his way around there. Thibaut Demar, we saw him earlier. Now this is Römer changing gear for the final tempo. Another Dane going well. The Danish team going very well here.
Well, this is going to be tight. I think it's just about 30 seconds from the top of the climb back down into the stadium. So Bart Munck's time could be challenged here. Going through 6.2. Bart Munck with an advantage over Römer.
Good pace, Römer, working down as far as he can. He must know it's tight. I think he is going to pass Bart Munck's time. Just 150 meters to go. Römer from
8 seconds between them, going through 6.2. And it looks to me as if Römer has had a better finish. He's still got a little way to go. It's going to be very, very tight. 29.45, the time he's trying to beat. Oh, he's going to miss it by a fraction. Absolutely. Less than a second. Römer of Denmark goes 2, Will Rosbo down a 3, and Mongolia's Bart Munck stays top dog for now. Well, that was a very, very good effort from the Dane, Römer. And I think the Danes will be pretty happy with the way things are going. I just have a horrible feeling, Mike, that as the stronger skiers who started later come in, they might find themselves edged out, slowly edged out of the top 10. Well, Dika from Croatia, 136. I think that's too far behind. 5th place at the moment, but he won't stay top 10.
Just thinking the Danes today, of course, mostly from Copenhagen, and I think I haven't checked it out, but I think the highest mountain or climb in Denmark is 220 meters.
Have a look at this from Dal Farah of Argentina. Just about to finish 1 minute inside the previous best. He has blown the field apart. That is a really, really good performance from Dal Farah. He had a lead of, well, a fairly decent lead. Just trying to check his halfway position. At 6.2, Dal Farah was actually down in 10th position. So he needs to have skied pretty hard.
Well, that's incredible. Benediktsson, we saw him setting some of the earlier times. He's not going to pass Dal Farah's time, but it's going to be a good time. And without doubt, he will go through as one of the top 10 qualifying for the World Championships. Yes, the highest mountain in Denmark, I think it's 240 meters. And today, this course, they covered 344 meters of climb.
Now, Benediktsson of Iceland, he's going into 2nd place. And that is, again, going to be very, very close to the qualifying line. We've still got an athlete, well, number 29.
Has he got his bindings attached to his right boot? No, nothing. I think the rules state that you have to finish with both skis.
Yeah, Nuska Vicious, well, he's not going to miss this opportunity to finish the race. 20 seconds down for Benediktsson of Iceland, and his position at halfway was 5th, so he's lost a little to the current race leader.
Well,
who is Marco Dalfara.
29. Could someone out there not have given him a ski, and that would have helped his cause? Your leg that you're standing on super loads up. It's very, very hard work. Oh, this is why
I think he's lost it
it's
on the
just
last
at
corner.
the very end. Oh dear. Ah. Oh well, that's why he finished with only one ski, and that's why no one else gave him one, because he's in the home straight. You see and feel the disappointment. It actually wasn't the home straight, it was a little further out.
I think he's thinking of the money to buy a new set. Still, he crosses the line on one, and although he's not going to qualify for another race here in Seefeld, we may see him in 2 years' time. He's only a young man, 18 years old. Good strong finish coming in from Konya of Hungary. He's 10 seconds outside the new second place, and Dalfara of Argentina, who's had a tremendous second lap. Just looking at Dalfara's time in the early stages, at 1.7, he was way down in 15th place, 26 seconds off the fastest time. So there's no doubt that Dalfara has done well on the last 5K, but bear in mind we still have some of the later starters to finish.
One of them, Jonsson, and Jonsson's going to take the new lead time for certain, and well, that'll be just over 28 minutes, maybe 28:15, 28:20.
Albert Jonsson lying in third. He was 2 seconds down on Dalfara, going through 6.2. So he's found some extra strength in the closing stages, and that's a turnaround of almost 20 seconds, just over 20 seconds from Albert Jonsson. He's got to be happy with that. And starting number 49, absolutely nailed on to go through to the World Championship events. Top 10 is all he required. He might well stay top of the pile for the rest of the race.
Dalfara, the national champion, coming in, the Argentinian coming in.
Shanlung, here he is, the man I was looking for. Now, he was ahead of Albert Jonsson at the last split, and he's going to stay ahead of Albert Jonsson in the finish, and he's actually increased his lead. So Thailand's Shanlung, I think that's going to be the winning time today, judging by the split. He had a lead at 6.2 of just 0.9 over Demare, and Demare started number 53. So this is the big question. Here is Demare right on cue. He's a big, tall man, 43 seconds from the top of the hill. Actually, Mike, I think with the sun going in a fraction, possibly the tracks are getting a tiny bit quicker.
As soon as they glaze over, that is exactly what happens, and it was 9 degrees, the sun is gone.
Well, that's a very strong finish from Demare. The leader, certainly now, he was, as I mentioned, he was just a second down on Demare, going through the 6.2 split, and he's turned it around by some 14 seconds to deny Shanlung of Thailand the win. But it's not really about winning, it's about finishing in the top 10. And that's a respectable performance.
It certainly is. Thibaut Demare, only 20-year-old, 50th in the under-23 World Championships at 20 over the 30-kilometre mass start classic.
Nice track-changing skills as he came into the finish again, deciding that was quicker than asking the athlete in front to get out of the way. But actually, those closing stages of the race, he's not allowed to ask someone to move out of the track, so he had to step to his right. And obviously confident that his skis weren't going to grip the snow and cause problems. But that's not a bad run, actually, Mike. If you look at the time, 27:56 for a 10K classic is not bad at all.
It's very good indeed, and if you're 20-year-old, that makes it even better. He's got a long way to go, and I think he might have just we've witnessed him double pulling the whole off the track, and that's a gutsy performance. Be interesting how he gets on in the rest of the races. Yes, you could say it's a disadvantage. Of course it is. Putting in a qualifying the day before the sprint race is a qualifying 10-kilometre and working that hard. He'll certainly feel it in his legs tomorrow.
Sayed of Iran to stay in the top 10. He needs to be less than 149 behind. I think he's just gonna squeeze it for now. 142, 143. He's still got some 12 meters to go. 146.6, just inside the top 10. So 9th place at the moment. Batmunk, who we thought looked as though he was going to qualify, now sitting in 10th place, Mike. How quickly things have changed.
They certainly have. 55, Storlia looking good, the 23-year-old.
Dimitro Drahun started 56, and he is the man in your picture at the moment, 110, so he might just make it. He's got, what, 36 seconds from the top of the hill.
So the time to beat is 29:45.3. Batmunk at the moment sitting happy in 10th.
20 seconds to play with for Drahun. Batmunk is the man in the finish area looking nervous because he knows if he gets inside it. 10 left for Drahun of Ukraine to go put himself into the top 10 with not so many starters left to go. 146, 147,
No.
148. Batmunk is safe and he stays in the top 10. Roma of Denmark, who put in a fantastic run. He's now been pushed down into 11th. And just as we thought, the Danes so close. But it looks as though they're going to miss out.
Well, this is strong final 10, 15 starters, as we knew. So 13th, yes, Will Roscoe.
58 starters in all. Syed of Iran has done well. And that lunge for the line might be the difference between heading home and being involved in the rest of these championships. Dimitri Drahun started number 56 of 58 competitors in all. No real sign of Milos Kolic, who started last. And Kolic, certainly looking at the FIS points that he's acquired over the year, certainly would have expected to see him go through, but it looks as though he's now going to miss out. Thibaut Demare still leading for Belgium. Mark Shanlung of Thailand in second. Albert Jonsson, he's safe in third, as is Marco Dalfara of Argentina. Well, Milos Kolic, the last starter, Mike, has obviously lost a bit of form. He is 3 minutes behind going through 6 kilometres, and there's no comeback from that sort of deficit. Milo Savlovic is also adrift of the time required. He's 3:04 off the pace. And that has been extended, as you can see, now 3:25. So the second lap proving just a little bit too tough. So I think the fact that the last two starters have underperformed, we can confirm the top 10 in the men's qualifying. Demare of Belgium, Shanlung of Thailand, Jonsson of Iceland, all through. Dalfara, Konya, Benediktsson, Malchov, Franco Dalfara of Argentina also going through. Syed Sattar Syed in 9th place for Iran, and Batmunk, who we've seen in these events before, has once again qualified in 10th position, 1:48 off the winning time.
It means so much to get through into the top 10, but Tue Room are missing out by 0.9 of a second, the best of the Danes. That's a real pity. He'll be wondering if only maybe I could have pushed 0.9 of a second harder, but you could only do what was asked at that moment, and that's what he did.
Another brush stroke from Scott Dixon's brush might have made all the difference. Very, very slim margins. Dashdon Dog of Mongolia, 4:21. He put up a good effort. He set the standard early on, having started third. Had problems with the skis, but so did many, many others. And on a day like this, the more support you have, the more likely you are to find a pair of skis that work.
Very much the case. And then information on the track as well. And as a later starter, you do have the advantage knowing the job ahead of you, what you have to do to make the top 10, and it really makes a difference.
College was a long way off the leaders. This is Thibaut Demare, started 53. It's pretty good at the skiathlons. Usually picks up around 100 FIS points, so he was a bit frustrated not to get automatic qualifying into the championships, but he's done it now. He's had a run out, he's had a look at the tracks, he'll know what to expect. I imagine we'll see him in the sprint tomorrow, and then no doubt we'll see him in the 15K Classic as well. Rumme, Drahun, Will Rosbo missing out by the slimmest of margins. Had they started a fraction later and known what they had to do, that could have been a different story.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. But nice to see such a spread of nations, and nations that we don't normally associate with cross-country skiing. And I think doing very well today.
Well, that completes the action from the first day of the Nordic World Championships here in Seefeld. And an impressive performance in the men's 10-kilometer qualifying. Thibaut Demare taking the win for Belgium, 27:56. Well, pretty impressive, Mike. They're going to struggle to make an impression in the main event.
I think so, but a 20-year-old Demare, it's impressive. It's a great experience, and I think we'll see so much more of these athletes in the future.
Well, that's all from Mike and myself. We'll hand back to the studio now, and we'll see you tomorrow with the sprints.
The podium with the Belgium, Thailand and Iceland. Congrats to Thibaut Demare, who will be the winner of the qualification. He's now ready for the World Championship in the distant races.
That's right. The next 3 distance races that are coming up, the 15K, the 30K, and the 50K. Not in that order, of course, but he has a start for there. And you know what? It looks like he really executed the course well, Karsten. I mean, his skis were working better than most, and I mean, to win this qualification race, there's still 58 starters, so hats off to him.
Yeah. But let's be honest, there's been quite a big range of qualities in this qualification race.
Yes, the quality range was quite stark, one could say. Some looked like, well, I'm not quite sure how many times they've been on cross-country skis, to be honest, whereas like Demare had pretty good technique and was holding his pace pretty decently. His equipment was not hindering him too much, so it was a massive difference between the worst and the best today.
Okay, we just saw that there was a guy on the 50th place. I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name. His first name is Andreas. Let's listen to what he wanted to say after the race. Andreas, you have to help me out. I tried my best, but...
Yeah, it's Razaf Mahachacha.
Okay, it wasn't that difficult, actually. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
How was it? Was it hard? Was it easy?
I mean, we knew that it was going to be tough, what's it called, smør conditions?
So waxing.
Yeah, waxing. It was tough waxing conditions, and I really experienced that. But no, other than that, it was a very, very fun race. I've never gone to tracks like this. It was beautiful tracks. So
yeah, but you don't train in Madagascar, right?
I don't train in Madagascar. I actually started my skiing career in Trondheim during my studies. Yeah, I was 22 years old, I think, when I became interested in cross-country skiing, and that was 6 years ago, and now I'm here.
You want to see some pictures of yourself in the course? Because we have some great pictures of you. If you want to see them? Yeah.
I probably. That's cool.
Yeah, it was tough.
In the beginning, it was tough.
But after a while, it get better, right?
Yeah, it was better and better after a while, but it was tough in the beginning there. I never thought it was going to be this tough, but I think I started out way too hard in the beginning, and I just felt it.
That was Andreas. I'm not going to try it again anyway. He said his name, but I'm sorry, I can't do that. But one thing this race showed is that the waxers, when it's 7, 8, or 9 degrees, they're going to have a challenge this championship.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a huge challenge, Karsten, because what happens with this track as it's twisting and turning all over the place, of course, you have some parts that are just getting baked by the sun and other parts that lie in the shade. And being up here in the mountains, the humidity in the snow is quite low when the day starts. I mean, this morning when we got here, -5. Now, +9. It's like tropical. So it is going to be an absolute challenge. And these smaller teams or mini teams without the waxing help, they struggle today, and that's to be expected.
Yeah. You see here, that's the start number 1. And you don't want to do that just before the race, right?
No, and if you do that, this is what's going to happen. I mean, you can see the bottom of his skis. They're icing up. The Mexican technician really tried to do the absolute best job he could. And you know what? Sometimes best just isn't good enough here.
And yeah, you see here Dash Dong Dog from Mongolia did a great race, actually. But here he is, Luis Carrasco, start number 1. You had some difficulties with your skis today. It was a tough race.
Yeah.
How is it?
Yes, the whole week I was having troubles with a wax underneath here. So I was having troubles going uphill. I was not getting any grip. So last minute today, my coach and I decided to get a much clister. So on the first downhill, I just couldn't go down. Couldn't go down. And I like downhills because I used to do skeleton. So I love downhills, I love speed, but I was just getting stuck there. So I had to stop, take the snow out of it and kept on going. But in a way, I preferred that not being able to go up. So it was just, it's my first cross-country classic race. I've only been doing cross-country 2 seasons, and I was doing only skate. So I bought this about a month ago, and I started training, and I came here.
So 1 month you've been skating on these skis?
Classic, yes. This is the only pair that I have. I have only one. I just bought them. I went training to Canmore in Canada. There is very cold. I had no problems there with the snow. It was like -10, -13, -8, sometimes -20. And here I was just not, I'd never guessed it right, but it was the worst. I mean, it was the less worst today.
I have a quick question. Have you heard of skin skis? They come out with skin skis.
Yes.
Was the point to not use those because earlier when it was colder conditions, you found that the waxing skis were just faster?
No, it's just that I don't have another set. I only have this set. My teammate has 2 sets, but he was not sure if he was going to use the skins or the other ones. So I didn't want it to, when he was going to lend it to me, but he was not sure until last minute. And I just decided, okay, let's get some clister here. But I think it was a little bit too much. But it still was better than what I was doing during the week. So in a way, it's just, I just had troubles in the first downhill up here. That's when I was getting stick in there.
But because those of you who really know the Olympic history, you were in Lillehammer, right?
No,
not Lillehammer, but Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City in skeleton.
Yeah. Were you more afraid in the skeleton track than here, downhill?
No. The only track that I'm scared in skeleton is Altenberg and Whistler. Those are respectful tracks. But no, I was not. I don't like that. I was not scared here. I like the speed. I want to go fast, even though I'm not very good down here because I'm learning. But I just couldn't go faster because of the clister. I had the brakes on, and in skeleton you have no brakes. You just go. But I enjoyed it. It was fun.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you so much, Luis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seefeld. Yeah. Okay, that was the I think he finished last, didn't he? Did he?
I'm not totally sure. The results have been in, but we've been doing some interviews. But if he didn't finish last, reverse podium perhaps.
All right, but let's talk to the guy who finished first.
Yes, that'd be great.
Thibault Leclerc.
The winner of today's qualification at the first race of the World Championships in Seefeld. What's your feeling right now?
I'm really tired. I started a bit fast, I think, but yeah, I want absolutely to qualify for first, and I thought also to win, of course. So I keep pushing, and I had a good timing by the coaches, and so I give everything. And now it's everything is cool.
Of course. So you have reached your first goal. And now, what's coming up for the rest of the World Championships?
Yes, the first goal was the qualification to now races on the other competitions of the championships. I will be very happy to race the skiathlon because it's my birthday, the 23. So it felt very cool. I was already there in Lahti 2 years ago, and it was absolutely amazing. And now it's perfect.
Here we see the podium for the qualification with Bodemar on top of the podium. Can you do something in the races here, or is it...
Well, I liken it to a player in British football who's playing 4th division isn't a bad football player. But if you put him on the starting lineup of Manchester United, you're going to see pretty quickly he's a bit out of position. He doesn't have the speed, and his accuracy might not be quite the same as Pogba. So that's the way I see it. He's not a bad cross-country skier. We saw with his technique, it wasn't so bad. But compared to best in the world, I'm sorry, it's going to be some long days here in Seefeld.
All right, Bodemar, congratulations with the qualification victory here in Seefeld. Tomorrow, it really starts. The cross-country sprint qualification called the Prologue, 11:45 here on Eurosport. Next up in this channel now, it's the Tour of Andalusia. That's bicycling. Thank you so much for watching.